Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan.
Looks good. Looks good. Let's go.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and once again, welcome to Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire. This is week 3 of the 1995 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. If you missed last week, well, you missed one of those matches that we're going to be talking about for a long, long time to come, as John Plante made it 2 wins in a row. But it wasn't that he won it, it was how he won it. He had to come from behind. He was 35 pins down in the second game, or after the second game, as Tom Morgan fired a 191, and then John came back and won the match.
John was on the ropes against the 191. He came right back and won the match. It's amazing. But not only last week, but the whole weekend. If you missed the weekend, we had some great bowling. But the task at hand, he's got to forget about last week and start all over.
I can hardly wait to see what's going to happen these next 3 matches as the Tournament of Champions continues. So let's introduce you, or reintroduce you first, to our 2-time defending winner, coming back to try and make it 3 in a row, our number 6 seed in the Tournament of Champions from Manchester, New Hampshire, John Plante.
I'm not even going to mention his 117 average. It means nothing. He's at a high single of 184 and a high triple of 441.
Yeah, last week a 439 to knock off Tom Morgan. The week prior to that, John had a 392 to win his first match of this sequence. So today he tries for 3 in a row, and he faces one of the guys who's been here more often than just about anybody else on Stars and Strikes, from Plastow, New Hampshire, Gary Carrington.
Okay, and Gary comes in averaging 129, high single of 195, and a high triple of 480.
Gary's making his second appearance in a Tournament of Champions. And, of course, we have bonus money on the line. If you were with us last week, you learned a lot about bonus money because we gave away an awful lot of it last week from our friends at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. So we have that on the line for the bowlers as well, and our bonus ball contest coming up later on in the hour. But first of all, we have 3 strings of bowling coming up between John Plante and Gary Carrington, week 3 of the Tournament of Champions, when we come right back. Don't go away. Well, with apologies to Tom Morgan and Jack Quinn, it's been all John Plante the first 2 weeks of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. As we mentioned 2 weeks ago, John threw a 392 to knock off Jack Quinn, the number 5 seed. And then last week, that just incredible match, John coming from behind and withstanding a 191 middle game from Tom Morgan to come back and win it. John throwing a 439. Incidentally, the scores that you see to the right of the screen are the 3-string totals that the bowlers rolled to qualify for the Tournament of Champions, which of course determines the seeding as we move in to this 5-week series. And we are now in week 3, and John Plante going for his 3rd win in a row against our number 3 seed, Gary Carrington, who was the last bowler to qualify for this year's tournament. He qualified just 3 weeks ago with a win over Jack Ray in that 416. So here we go. Oh, my. Welcome back to Stars and Stripes.
Did he ever leave?
A little heavy, but got away with it. Heavy on the head pin. Not too heavy that time.
Spread eagle.
John Plante last week had 18 marks in the match, 12 spares and 6 strikes. Tom Morgan, incidentally, last week had 13 marks, 9 spares, and 4 strikes, and the 4 strikes were consecutive. 23 opening pair for John Plante and Gary Carrington, whose other appearance in the Tournament of Champions was in 1991. That year he... Oh, look out!
Starts with 1.
Here we go again. Back in 1991, Gary came in as the number 2 seed and lost to Pat Pay, who was in the midst of winning the whole thing with 4 wins in a row. Gary's strike.
Put on the gloves, and here we go again. Both bowlers opening with a strike.
Just a tiny bit off target to the right, but didn't turn out too badly. The 1, 2, and 7. Oh, wow. I think Gary thought he had it, and so did I.
I thought he had a good chance of making it.
But he does have the early lead by 6 pins. And let's see if we can figure out what happened here. 2 pieces of wood. Really, nothing ever went over toward the 7 pin. The 2 pieces of wood went straight back. Oh, look out, John Plante! How did the 10 pin stay up? It looks like it may be half off the plate in the back there. Those 2 pieces of wood moved it.
This is the first time that John Plante has ever been behind. After 2 boxes.
Right, he didn't fall behind last week until Tom Morgan threw the 4-bagger. He picks up with a spare in the 3rd. Just 5 on the pill.
John, in both matches, has opened up and grabbed the lead until last week, as Doug mentioned, 4 in a row. That's going to knock. I was just trying to add that up. That's about 109 pins, including the 4 strikes and 1 spare in like 5 boxes. It's amazing. 4 boxes, actually. That gives him an 8 and a 46. I'm talking, of course, of Tom Morgan's 191 last week.
Incidentally, if you missed it, that 191 was obviously the high single ever thrown in a Tournament of Champions. It was the 2nd highest single ever thrown here on Stars and Strikes. Rick Farwell has the record. He's held it for almost 11 years now. He threw a 196 back in June of 1984.
Rick Farwell, where are you?
But last week's 191 by Tom Morgan was the 2nd highest ever. The 439 triple, by the way, for John Plante was nowhere near the highest triple ever thrown in a Tournament of Champions. That's held by Tim Lipke, who threw a 467 back in 1991. Gary converts the 10. Still has a 1-pin advantage. Gary from Plastow, New Hampshire. He and his wife of 14 years, Kathleen, have 2 children, Matthew and Michael. And Gary works as a machine operator for AT&T in North Andover.
6, 7, 10 for Gary.
For the spare? No. Tried to keep everything in play, but didn't quite work for him. And a 9. So the lead swings to John Plante by 1 pin. By 2 pins, beg your pardon. And it's Gary Carrington in the lead. I just basically made an addition mistake, is what I did.
John will shoot at the 4 horsemen on the right, plus the 9 pin in the back.
Oh,
boy.
robbed by the 10 pin. Next week, the winner of this match will face another Tournament of Champions rookie, Chris Sargent. Hardly a rookie in terms of his prowess in Candlepin bowling, though. He has really kind of exploded the last year or 2 with us on many occasions. We had 3 Tournament of Champions rookies in this year's field. One of them is the guy you're looking at right now, John Plante, but I guess he's hardly a rookie now.
Not anymore.
Oh, yeah. Shot. Spare in the 6th for John Plante.
It's on the head pin. Head pin goes down and takes out the 4 and eventually the 7. His 3rd mark of the string. Marks in the 1st, the 3rd, and now the 6th.
Gary Carrington looking for his 1st spare. He started the match with a strike.
Oh, wow. How did that 10 pin not go?
Quick reminder about next weekend here on the Winds. Next Saturday at 12 noon, that would be May the 13th, we will have the Women's State Championship match, the 1995 New Hampshire State Candlepin Championship match for the ladies. And, of course, next Sunday. Oh, big strike for Gary Carrington, his second. He has one on each lane now, and that was a quick one.
It certainly was. No doubt about it.
And then, of course, next Sunday, we'll be right back here at Park Place Lanes for the Tournament of Champions semifinal between the winner of this match and number 2 seed, Chris Sargent.
John was a little full with that hit, but he gets a good break, leaves us just a 6 and a 10, make it another mark.
Yep.
Sets himself up for bonus money. Any combination of spare or strike in this box will give him that $25 bonus.
Well, not going to be real easy.
They have the wood stay there. Now you might want to just catch a little bit of the wood to the left and the 2-pin. Jump everything towards the 610. Oh, you just drop that one.
Quick reminder, if I may, about Park Place Lanes, which is where we tape our programs here on Stars and Strikes. 9 box for John Plante. Of course, we're located right here on Route 28 in Windsor, New Hampshire, just minutes away from Canopy Lake Park. Route 93, very centrally located, and located inside Park Place Lanes is the Willow Tree North Restaurant. Our good friend Rodney Cronin and his fine staff ready to attend to your every need. Great food, great service, great prices. All to be found at the Willow Tree North Restaurant right here at Park Place Lanes. And remember, when you come in, be sure and let them know the secret phrase. It's where the crew eats. You don't get a prize or anything. It's
no.
It's just a secret phrase.
I think you get a glass of water with ice.
Gary Carrington tries the Brooklyn side this time, and he had to push that 5-pin out of there. And he's left with the 8 plus a possible nasty piece of wood in front.
Yeah, that angle of the camera shot leads you to believe he's got a clear shot at it, but from where we are, right behind Gary, it's not quite that easy.
No. Looking for his first spare, and he's got it. Fine
Looked
shot.
easy.
Yeah, I had to hit it right on the cap, and that's exactly what he did. 3 marks for Gary. And John Plante back to work with a big 9 drop, leaving the 9-pin. Spare.
So 110 in the 9th, plus the bonus ball.
Mentioned the bonus money possibilities for the bowlers a moment ago, Dan. $25 for 3 marks in a row, and an additional $25 for every additional consecutive. And then $250 for 3 strikes in a row, with an additional $250 for each additional consecutive. And just asked Tom Morgan about that after last week. 9 and another spare for John Plante. And, of course, the bonus money all provided by Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, one of our longtime sponsors here on Stars and Strikes. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, Salem, New Hampshire, right there on Main Street, Route 97. And John has an opportunity for bonus money here if he were to throw a strike. And instead, it'll be 8 and a 137.
Continues at a torrid pace.
Well, after throwing 6 games in the 2 weeks previous to this one, in which his score got higher every game, he finally dropped back a little bit to 137. He wrapped up with a 154 last week. Gary Carrington getting away with a ball pulled to the left. He carries 6 on his mark.
That'll put him up by 3 pins, but he's facing a spare 9, spare 8.
No, he's got it. Boy, that is not a difficult shot, and Gary made that appear very, very easy. Crisply made with no wood. The runner-up in today's match, by the way, takes home fourth-place prize money of $300, plus whatever bonus money they accumulate. The winner moves into the semifinals.
Drops 7, leaves himself a 6, 9, 10. Piece of wood out in front. Trying for bonus money here.
And he's got it. $25 for Gary Carrington, and room for one more here in the 10th.
Needs 7 to tie the match up. Anything over 7, he will take the lead.
Well, how about a tie? 7 is the fill. Matching 137s here in game 1. The Tournament of Champions rolls on from Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire after these messages. Bonus ball contest worth $30 at the end of the hour. You can only win it if we have your postcards in. Regular size postcards only. Be sure and include your name, your address, your number from 1 to 10. Mail them on into Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. Gary Carrington to start game 2 in this tie match.
Three, 6, 4, 7.
And the 10 box. No, Gary thought that he was going to get a spread eagle there. I think he was full on the headpin, and instead he has a spare lead, the 3 and the 6.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. That's an opportunity missed right there. But he does not leave a pin standing, and he doesn't very often. He had only 1 pin left standing in that first game. 1 9 box. That was it. John Plante takes the extra pin. Still has the 4 horsemen, though. Nope. Missed the head pin. Take a second here, Dan, to talk about our presenting sponsor here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our friends at Tri-State Megabucks, who have been with us for so many, many years now, and really part of the inspiration behind the creation of the Tournament of Champions. Tri-State Megabucks providing the extra prize money for the bowlers, and of course with that and the bonus money, it's created an awful lot of excitement, and we want to thank everyone at the office of Tri-State Megabucks for all of their cooperation and their support of Candlepin bowling, not only here on the Winds, but around the state in general.
Absolutely. Hats off to those people. This week, buy 1 extra ticket for us.
That's right. Yeah. And just let us know if you want.
That's
right. We don't have to give us anything. Just let us know.
In fact, invite us to split it with you.
No, see, just our happiness in knowing that someone would have won would be enough.
I can be a lot happier with $500,000.
I'm trying to get you out of this, Dan, and you keep digging yourself deeper. No marks yet here in game 2.
No, the ball's cooled off. Chris, I don't know. I think these pins might be kind of worn out after last week.
Weren't a lot of those pins broken from last week?
3, 6, 10 on the right with the 4 pin. Gary trying to split the 3 and 6.
No.
Good effort, but no mark to show for it. So neither bowler is really taking charge yet in this match.
And of course, John with that tough 5 box a moment ago. He'll try to bounce back from that now. John from Manchester, New Hampshire, works as a unit manager for Capital Credit Corporation. Does much of his bowling right here at Park Place Lanes, so he's very much at home here, and he's certainly been bowling like it. Big 9 drop. He could get by the wood, but I wonder if he'll use it. Oh, maybe he didn't intend to use it.
I don't think so. I think he's probably shooting right at the pin and just pulled it to the left.
So it'll be a 10 box instead. Back on the head pin. Boy, you'd love to see that 5 pin go out of there. Makes this a much tougher shot.
Well, just sliding by the object pin.
And we will go to break here on Stars and Strikes, the 1995 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Gary Carrington leading by 5 here as we approach the halfway point. Back for Gary Carrington here in game 2. Mention how many appearances Gary has made here. You saw his record a moment ago, and we've talked about this before, Dan. That record is somewhat deceiving. Gary has had an awful lot of big scores thrown against him.
That's true.
Oh, fine shot. That's a tough shot anytime, but when you're trying to get that first mark of a game, that's an even tougher one.
Had the same cluster in the first game and left the 10 pin. This time he's able to knock the 10 pin out of there for the spare.
In the pocket, but boy, kind of a funny hit there. Went over to the Brooklyn side, and I guess that's the payback for the one where he went through the middle and thought he might get the spread eagle and ended up with an 8. Oh, yes! Nothing to it. So what if it wasn't a great lead? Well, he deserved the spare. He deserved something good to happen in that box.
Look at that.
What a great shot. Oh, almost for John. I don't know how funny this game is. How tough it is to figure out. You will have to look no further for evidence than last week's show here on Stars and Strikes. Tom Morgan throws a 4-bagger, 4 strikes in a row, 7 marks in a row in all, on the way to a 191. And then 15 minutes later, he threw a 94 without a mark.
Well, there's only so many to a customer, I guess. He used them all up in that second game. 4 horsemen, and he leaves another corner pin. Last time the 7, this time the 10. So he's markless for 6 frames in the second game.
And this is by far the longest drought that John has had in the 3 weeks he's been here. But it's still a close match. As you see, Gary with the 11-pin lead, but he'll add to it right here on this fill. He also has an opportunity for bonus money. Oh, big mix there, leaving the 5-pin.
And this for $25 in bonus money for 3 in a row.
He's got it. 3 in a row for 25 more. Back on the head pin again, and there it is. Strike on spare, $25 more. And Gary is feeling it right now.
Yes. The old retro rockets have kicked in.
Meanwhile, John Plante trying to find some answers here. Nice 10 for John.
And he finds himself down by 30 and still opposite a strike.
And off the head pin again. Does carry an extra pin, but not the, oh no, he's going to get the 10 also. The 1 and the 7 with some pinching wood that may help. Let's see. Nope, didn't get it.
$10, 73 through 8. Gary Carrington trying to extend this bonus money streak. Got 4 in a row now. Oh, that was right in there. Let's see.
That may not be good, depending on how that wood finally settles. 5-pin kicking out of there, leaving the 7 and 8. Well,
it's not going to be an easy shot. It looks like they would just hit the wood and go, but the 8-pin could be the problem. No, got them both.
25 more. Gary now with $100 in bonus money overall. 75 in this stretch. Oh, wow. Oh, that's 6 marks in a row and $25 more. And it's 153 with 2 balls to come. Now 143 with 2 balls to come, I beg your pardon. So the bonus money streak finally comes to an end, but it is a 149 with 6 marks in a row to finish up game 2 for Gary Carrington, a 2-game total of 286.
And John Plante needs some marks, and he's not quite sure he wanted those to fall down. Gives him the 1 and the 7.
No. John just can't quite find it here in this second game. There it was. That's his 5th consecutive 10 box. But he now trails by 50.
Once he can pull off a spectacular shot here at 10th frame, he's going to be under 100, and Gary Carrington's going to have a sizable lead going into the 3rd game.
John will take 7 for a 90, a 2-game total of 227. So it'll be a big lead for Gary Carrington with 1 game to go to decide who advances to the semifinals of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. We'll be back with more in a minute. Exactly 1 week ago at this point, John Plante had just finished watching Tom Morgan throw a 191, and John trailed by 35 pins. And he came back with a 154 of his own and won the match. Does he have another miracle in the bag?
I'm certainly not going to count him out, but he's got a long ways to go. Uh-oh. Whoa.
Ooh, got by the wood.
Thought he might have capped that wood and missed those 2 pins.
Well, that's his first mark since the first game. He had 6 in the first game. A little full, takes 7.
4, 5, and 7. Not an easy spare.
Couldn't throw it over there. That'll be a 10 for John. So he gets 1 mark up on the board. Gary Carrington finished game 1 with 3 marks in a row. He finished game 2 with 6 in a row. Gary, by the way, with today's appearance, Dan, becomes only the 7th bowler check my figures here. Make it the yeah, that's correct. He becomes the 7th bowler to be in the Tournament of Champions more than once. That's really a testament to how tough it is to get on board. I mean, we've only been here doing this for 7 years, and only 7 bowlers have been able to get on more than once. Of course, that list is topped by Paul Berger, who's been in all 7 of them.
It's interesting, though, too. Gary just qualified. He was the last qualifier.
Right.
And he beat Bob Clary 392, 360. Then he beat Jack Ray 416, 386. So he almost got a little bit of momentum coming into the Tournament of Champions. Now, you go back to Paul Berger, who was quite a while ago before, while he made his qualification or won his Tournament of the ladder. And then Chris Sargent, how long ago was he? I can't remember the dates. But
Paul Berger won his on Christmas Day. And that, oh, there's a big strike for John Plante. He's trying to hang in it here. We'll take another look at that. Again, Paul Berger with that big win over Glenn Shattuck on Christmas Day.
That's
qualified
right. How could I
for the
forget
tournament.
that date? Yeah.
And Chris Sargent qualified in March. So he qualified just before Gary.
Before Gary. So it's almost like, you know, Gary seems to be peaking right now. But we'll see what happens. Sliding by, 7 fill on the strike. Gary even mentioned to me last time, he says, I finally bowled real decent on the show, and he did, both those matches that he won.
Well, again, John gets 1 mark up there, but 1 at a time probably isn't going to be enough. You have to mark in bunches to overcome this lead. Gary working on a spare. We'll take an 8 fill, and that wood will turn pretty nicely for him.
I think you want to shoot at the 5. I think he can get by the 2 pieces of wood and sweep everything in back of them for the 10 pin, but he may elect to take the front piece.
No, not quite. .53 is the lead right now. I wouldn't count him out of this shot.
No. 3, 5, 6, and a 7.
And it'll be a 9 for Gary. That will take us to a break. John Plante has chipped a little bit of that lead away, but Gary Carrington still in command at this point. 6 boxes to go to decide it here on Stars and Strikes. John Plante. And he carries the extra pin like he had been doing for the previous 2 weeks.
He's got a choice again. Try to get the 2-pin clean or use the wood. If he splits them, he may miss the back pin. Oh,
no.
Boy, no luck there. It's on the object pin. 1/4 of an inch either way would have been the spare.
Don't forget, coming up on Saturday, May the 13th at 12 noon, the championship match of the New Hampshire Ladies State Championship from the Londonderry Bowling Center. Of course, next Sunday, we're right back here at the semifinals of the Tournament of Champions. Two opens for John Plante.
Gary's ball breaks a little bit from right to left. That time he broke into the 1-2 pocket, the Brooklyn side, and does pretty well with that pocket. Leaves just a 9 and oh, slides by.
Well, right about here is where Gary's been catching fire. He's been tough to stop in the bottom half of the first 2 games.
That's right. 9 out of 10 boxes are marks.
And here he comes again. Watch out. 9 drop. Spare in the 6th. Mark number 13 for Gary. And John Plante just can't get anything to happen. Well, I guess. Oh, there's a nice shot right there. That's a nice shot.
Certainly was. Just caught enough of that wood to come off the right sidewall, take the 6, and then over for the 7.
If we follow the same theory we were using last week about Tom Morgan coming back from a big game, imagine it's tough to come back from a big match, as John had last week. It was a very emotional match. He had to come from behind and had to get himself geared up to do it all over again.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if, you know, next week's opponent was Fred Flintstone or somebody, but now we throw Gary Carrington at it. And that's like, you know,
well,
a reality check.
Those are the rules, you know.
Hello. I just hit 439. Oh, give me somebody, you know. Sorry. Gary working on a spare.
Oh, wow. Look at that. How about that shot?
You called it. Here he comes again. There's 2 more marks.
But how about this? This went from a spread eagle, a possible spread eagle, to a strike in about 5 seconds. Looked like he was going to be left with 5, and now he's left with none. Chance for more bonus money now.
Oh, double
strike. Oh. Well, we'll maybe see another triple when we have Gary step back to the line in a minute. We had a 4-bagger last week for Tom Morgan, good for $500.
Everything but the 4-pin for John Plante. John just kind of wants this one over now.
Well, John is going to take home $300 for finishing 4th in the tournament, and he put on a yeoman effort coming from that number 6 spot, winning 2 great matches and giving Gary Carrington a battle here today. And there's a strike on spare, so maybe John can earn himself a little extra bonus money as well here. He's already picked up, in his first 2 weeks, $250. Doesn't have any today, so maybe we can give him a little extra here.
It opened with 137, and a disappointing 90, and right now he's at 126 plus 2 balls. So he'll be over 130.
Now, if he makes this, we'll add another $25. What do you say?
Yeah. Should add about 500 more if he makes this. But fortunately, it's only 25, John. So, I went to 25.
134 for John Plante. 361 is the 3-game total.
Now Gary Carrington, spare double strike. This ball's worth $250 if he can throw another one.
Not only that, but he can afford to be nice and loose. He's already won the match. Here we go.
Looks good. Looks good.
Oh, ring it up again.
We haven't had that many triple strikes in the history of the show. And 2 consecutive weeks, we get a 4-bagger and now a triple and maybe another 4. Gonna have a monstrous total, too. That looks good.
Not quite enough mix on this one. Gary backed halfway into Plastow for body English on that one, trying to make something happen. Oh, but there's 25 more for the spare.
Computer's saying, help, help. Let him throw this last ball, and then we'll add everything up here. He's actually at 164 right now, plus this last ball.
Right. And a 6-fill, 170 for Gary Carrington in the 3rd and final game of 456 for Gary Carrington. He tops John Plante's score from last week. Does this ever end here on the Tournament of Champions? We're having a lot of fun. We'll be back to wrap it up in a minute. Place lanes in Windham, New Hampshire. I'll tell you, these first 3 weeks have been something, haven't they, in this Tournament of Champions?
Well, you thought we saw it all last week, and Gary Carrington, a little bit to say about that. A little bit in my pocket, too. Let me show you what I can do.
Hey,
unbelievable.
Money's there to be won, right?
That's right. I hope there's some left.
All right, let's talk with both bowlers. First of all, a round of applause for John Plante, who's done some terrific work here in this Tournament of Champions. He was among the first to qualify and had a long wait and made it pay off here with a couple of big wins. And we have a check for $300 for you, John, for finishing in 4th spot in the tournament. But we also have $250 bonus money for you as well. Another big comeback, just too much to ask, I guess, today. Gary was tough.
Yeah, even throwing a 1-7, I'd have to throw, who knows?
Who knows how much?
Couldn't do it. That 90 game killed me, the middle string. Oh, well.
Well, again, terrific work. Congratulations for all the great work the last couple of weeks, and we hope you have a good summer. We'll see you again in the fall sometime. All right, thanks very much, John. Congratulations. And now, Gary Carrington, for our bonus ball contest over on lane 31. Gary will try and roll us a match here, as we're at $30 and let's see, that'll be a 4-drop. Let me look for Dan digging through to see what he can find. Not a match for Thelma Adams in Milford, New Hampshire. Thelma's guess was 7, so that means we'll be going up to $40 next week, and we'll be sending Thelma a consolation gift. Nice work there.
Thanks.
Nice work there. 456, and boy, you know, you did most of your damage, it seemed, late in the game. You were able to string a lot of marks together and get things going.
That's good. I was watching John bowl against Tommy and everything. I knew what he did against him. I didn't want to let up at all, so things worked out very well.
Big difference working from the lead, obviously, especially in a situation like this where you know every bowler is tough, and it's always nice to, I think, in this situation, to get the lead and get out front.
Yes, it is. If it's close and everything, the pressure's on and everything, but you get a lead like that, freewheeling, you lose. Good things happen.
A little bonus money for you as well, $425. What is this with these triple strikes all of a sudden?
They're falling good. Keep them going. Yeah, I like it.
Well, next week, Chris Sargent is in, one of the young guys on the tour now who's been impressing a lot of people, and then we're looking forward to that match.
Yeah, well, he's impressed me also. He's very, very good, very talented. He's got a tiger, he's very good, believe me.
Congratulations, Gary. Great match. We'll see you next week for the semifinals.
Thanks.
All right, Gary Carrington with a 456. And that sets us up for next week's semifinal match, and we are left now with our top 3 seeds as they lined up in qualifying for this Tournament of Champions. Gary Carrington with the big 456 today. He will face Chris Sargent in next week's semifinals. And then, of course, the winner of that match gets Paul Berger to settle it all.
I don't know if I can go through another one, but we'll regroup, have a little lunch, and see what Chris Sargent can do against Gary. Should be a great matchup.
Well, enjoy the week, and don't forget next weekend, another big one here on the Winds of New England. Saturday at 12 noon from the Londonderry Bowling Center, the New Hampshire Women's State Championship match. That'll be at 12 noon on Saturday. And then, of course, 12 noon here next Sunday. It'll be Gary Carrington and Chris Sargent in the semifinals of the Tournament of Champions. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a great week, everybody.
Tonight on WNDS, join millions of your fellow fans and watch the winsome Ms. White turn those tiles on Wheel of Fortune. That's tonight at 6, and at 6:30, Alex Trebek teases your intellect on the game with all the right questions. Wheel at 6, Jeopardy at 6:30. That's tonight on WNDS. This is WNDS, and the fun starts here. Coming up next, it's the Sunday double feature on Movie Watch. That's right, 2 movies for a whole afternoon of fun.